It's day 18 of the 1 year fast. Last night I broke my fast and today I've been eating. So this particular week, the third week of the 1 year fast, I fasted on Sunday for 24 hours, took a break on Monday, fasted again on Tuesday, took a break today, Wednesday, we'll fast again tomorrow, Thursday. And again, the protocol, the framework for the 1 year fast, and I'm going to stop saying this pretty soon. The framework is for me to fast 3 days per week for 52 consecutive weeks. First week I fasted 3 days in a row, 72 hours. Second week I fasted 48 hours, took a break, and then 24 hours. And this week I fasted 3 24-hour fasts. Well, I will have fasted once I fast on Thursday. So again, 3 days per week, 3 24 hours for 52 consecutive weeks. That's the protocol of the 1 year fast. So I broke my fast last night, been eating today, and I just thought I'd share with you all how I typically break a fast. So, excuse me, there's a small fly here. Go over there, fly. So typically what I do is I have a protein smoothie with spirulina. So I have a plant-based protein smoothie with some spirulina, and this is it. So this is the particular spirulina I go with. I just find it really, a good way for me to break the fast. Something pretty light. And I created a web page on oneyearfast.com that outlines the spirulina benefits when breaking the fast. So again, what I do is spirulina, protein powder, plant-based protein powder, all in water. Sometimes I might put in some blueberries, and that's how I typically break a fast, and then maybe take a scoop of Marmite. Yes, I broke the fast last night, and you won't be surprised to know that today I made another stew, barley stew with all the veggies. Had some of that today, prepped it for the rest of the week. So clearly won't be eating tomorrow, fasting day, but for Friday and for Saturday. I've been thinking about the 1 year fast as well in terms of the amount of days I can fast in a row. So I do have the capacity within the framework of the 1 year fast to fast for 3 days at the end of one particular week. So it could be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Then the subsequent week, fast for the first 3 days. So the Sunday, the Monday, and the Tuesday. So within the framework of the 1 year fast, there is the capacity to fast for 6 days in a row. I'll probably do that as we get deeper into the 1 year fast. Maybe month 2, maybe month 3. But as we get deeper, I'm going to definitely do that 6-day fast. Get a deep cleanse and see where we are with a ketone reader. As we saw on the Tuesday fast, got some good ketone readings, 26 on the breath-based analyzer. I'm going to try again tomorrow. I did order an upgrade of the ketone reader, so hopefully get more reliable, consistent readings, because as we saw in previous videos, after 24 hours, I could be showing after 22 hours or thereabouts, when I take the ketone reading, I've been showing 0 after 22 hours or so, which is probably not altogether accurate. It could be accurate, but I doubt it. So I've upgraded the ketone reader and also added to the website a new biometric on the dashboard, where I'm going to add all of my ketone readings throughout the 1 year fast, which I think is really important to have that real core data set within the dashboard. So at the end of the 1 year fast, go back and look at all that core kind of physiological, physical data, and see where I am, and what are the changes as I've gone through the fast. Based upon the fast, what readings are we seeing? And ketones are clearly a very important part of that. So added that extra layer to the dashboard today, and I'm going to backfill some of the data as well. So we've got some good data from the start of the fast on the summer solstice. Thinking as well about again, the main reason for these videos, and I don't want to appear self-absorbed or selfish, but one of the main reasons is for me to kind of go back at the end of the fast, 1 year fast, and see where I am mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Am I seeing any changes in my disposition? So really, this is my way to objectively go back to this subjective moment and say, okay, Alfie was performing X or performing Y at that particular time, and maybe through that observation, we can maybe observe some positive or negative mental indicators, psychological indicators, emotional indicators, probably not so much spiritual, but we could layer that in as well somehow. So that's the main purpose of the videos, is having this reference point to come back objectively and make some observations and make some determinations to then align mental, physical, emotional health, spiritual health too, with all those physiological and physical indicators, to try and build out that whole picture when we look back and really try to deep dive the analysis of the 1 year fast. So that's the purpose. But also it's a good opportunity for me to just ramble, as we can see. And I did mention that I want to take moments of reverie within these videos, just to kind of share some information about who I am. So there's a more holistic picture of who I am performing the 1 year fast. And it's quite interesting. So today I was on the highway, and for the very first time, I have to say, it appeared to me that there were more vehicles on the road that were electric than combustion engine based vehicles. I've never ever noticed that in the past. Of course, there's a growing number of electric vehicles on the road today, and you see them all the time, but I actually saw today on the highway, and the highway was quite busy. It seemed to me that there was a substantial majority of the vehicles were in fact electric. And it occurs, wow, so we're really seeing a shift now from engine. And I know there's quite a few of the big brands that are making that shift. But that was the first time I'd actually seen on the highway a real tangible example of the fact that electric vehicles are taking over the roads. Which got me thinking back to my very first car. And my very first car, I purchased the car when I was 17. So in the UK, you can't drive until you're 17. And I remember I was about 17 and 4 months. I just passed my test and I was over the moon, and I decided to go and buy a car. And back in those days, I wanted a Ford Capri. Ford Capris were kind of like, pretty nice car back in those days. And that's what I wanted, but I only had £200. So although £200 was a lot to me, £200 in fact was not a lot to buy a car. But anyway, so I went off and bought the Exchange and Mart. This is pre-internet days. Bought the Exchange and Mart, scouring through the Exchange and Mart, and I found this vehicle. Ford Capri, pretty local, it's just a bus drive away, and it was under £200. So I thought, okay, could be perfect. So I travelled over to the seller. It's a private sale, with these kind of, I guess, rose-tinted glasses, really kind of just a predisposition just to buy the car. I wasn't a great mechanic. I understood the basics of mechanics, but I certainly was not somebody who could really dig in and find any major issues with the car. Anyway, I arrived at the seller's property, again, private seller, and the Ford Capri was sitting there. It was a Mark 1. It was like a mustard orange with a black vinyl roof, which was quite common back in those days. And it was a 2-litre gear. So it was quite a big car, engine-wise, for the UK. And I looked at it and I thought, I want this car. So I managed to barter him down to £150. Bought the car, gave me the keys, gave me all the logbook and all of that stuff. And I started to drive home, and it was probably about a 25-minute drive home from, I bought the car it was on the border of Walthamstow and Chinkford, and I had to drive over to Leytonstone, Wanstead. So the journey is about 25 minutes, and for me to navigate home, I had to go down this dual carriageway. So I'm in the car, and it's kind of clunking away a bit, but I was kind of oblivious. And I'm driving, and all of a sudden, the bonnet of the car flew up, wrapped around my windscreen, over the top of the roof of the car, and I couldn't see a thing. And I'm driving along. It's about, I'm doing about 50. So I very kind of gradually slowed the vehicle down as best I could. Luckily, I was on the inside lane and pulled over onto the hard shoulder. So I pulled over onto the hard shoulder, got out of the vehicle, took a look, and again, the bonnet was wrapped around the window screen, all over the roof, and it was a complete mess. So I managed to pull the bonnet down from the roof, push it down, and it still had a kink, but it was kind of almost level, again, horizontal. Luckily, there was some twine in the back of the car. So I took the twine, I wrapped it around the latch of the bonnet and tied it down, tied a big knot. It seemed pretty secure, of course, still bouncing around a bit, and managed to really tentatively drive home really slowly, 15, 20 miles per hour. I was upsetting everybody on the road. People were honking and beeping and getting really frustrated. Managed to get home eventually, parked the car on the drive. And as you can imagine, my parents weren't too impressed with my purchase. And in fact, I bought the car, but never drove the car. I actually did sell it. I sold it on, not a scrap. Somebody else bought the car that was going to do it up, repair it. So that was the first car I ever bought, but never drove. Bit odd, but that's the reality. The first car I actually bought and drove is when I got the job in New Covent Garden, 9 Elms. I had to drive from the East End of London over to South London really early in the morning. Again, I had to be at work at 3 a.m. So there were no tubes available. No tube would travel at that time in the morning. So I had to find some vehicle. So it's either a case of buy a small 50cc motorbike or buy a car. So managed to get a small loan. I remember it's £500 I got from Lloyd's Bank as a loan. I then went down to a dealership this time. Rather than go to buy private, I went down to a dealership, and on the lot, the dealer had 2 cars I could afford that were under £500. There was one Citroen DS, which at the time was kind of not really an attractive vehicle. They're very unusual looking in their form, but I liked it. I thought, well, that's kind of a nice car, very unusual. And there's also a Triumph Spitfire. And the Triumph Spitfire had some pretty serious rust. The valances were rusted, the seals were rusted, big tear in the roof. So I had these 2 vehicles, but they were both MOT'd. And initially I was leaning towards the Citroen DS. But then I had a moment where I said, well, can I afford to pay for parts? Can I afford to pay for servicing and upkeep? I probably couldn't. I probably couldn't afford to maintain that Citroen DS. So I decided to buy the Triumph Spitfire. And I believe the guy wanted $495 for the car, and I paid him $425. Got it home, and that car was fantastic. Drove it every day, never let me down once. Started in the dead of cold, it would start first time, and I used it for over a year, driving from East London to South London, again from East London across the bridge, all the way into Covent Garden, coming back in heavy traffic, never stalled, never let me down. And I made some investments. I got some new valances, got some plastic padding in the seals, got a new roof, and I kept it for just over a year before I sold that. So yeah, I love that car. It's fun as well in the summer, roof down, even in England, roof down in the summer can be fun. So that was my first car that I purchased and drove. And then I was thinking about all the cars I've had over the years. So I must have had over 50 cars when I look back over the years. And I was thinking to myself, so Alfie, what was your favorite car that you've ever owned? So I've owned 4 versions of the same car because I like the car so much. And it's a little bit odd. So I really like the 2CV, the Citroen 2CV, the Citroen Duchevaux. I love them. I guess they're the original environmentally friendly vehicle. They have a 2-stroke engine, 600cc, really low fuel consumption, and they're great cars. They've got a certain quirk, amazing suspension, they tend to roll a bit, but they don't roll over. They just kind of lean sort of back and forth. So that was the car I probably look back on most fondly. And again, I had 4 of those. The first one I bought in about 1989 was yellow and black, and I believe yellow and black was the color typically used for those cars back in Spain when they used them for, I believe in Madrid, as taxis. So yeah, you know, I love that car, or those cars, all of the 4 Citroens I had. And again, you know, when we think about the whole notion of being environmentally friendly, being aware of the environment, of course, we all want to do it, but also we want to do it in a responsible way that is honest. It seems there's not altogether a great deal of, I guess, true veracity when it comes to the nature of how to be environmentally friendly. There's some mendacious, I guess, manipulation out there that tries to inculcate us with actions that are not altogether sincere. So all that aside, you know, we all want to be environmentally friendly, but I'm not convinced at this time that electric vehicles are really the answer, particularly when we think about, you know, how does an electric car get its power? It gets its power through the grid, and how does the grid get charged? It gets charged through, I must confess, some level of, I guess, renewable energy, whether that's solar or whether that's tidal or whether that's wind energy. So that renewable energy does obviously flow through the grid, but also there's a substantial amount of more detrimental ways of generating that power, whether it's burning fuel, coal, waste, rubbish. I believe some generators even burn animal effluents. So we've got all of these components that really kind of negate the positivity of using an electric vehicle. And so it'd be, you know, interesting to really get deep into that. I know there's been a few counter views on that, some extreme views in terms of, look, electric vehicles are really just it's just a charade, and the others all know that, you know, electric vehicles are absolutely critical in maintaining a good environment. So yeah, it's an interesting subject that we should probably dig deeper into. Anyway, enough of me rambling. Again, day 18. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling well. Not as energized as I did feel yesterday. And it's odd. Just recently, I found that on the days that I'm fasting, I had more energy than the days that I'm not fasting, which I guess is a bit counterintuitive, but that's the reality of how I've felt over the past few days. But again, I'm feeling good. Day 18. Coming to the end of the fasting for the 3rd week, and looking forward to kind of marching on and getting